Have you ever sat across from your own child, the one you held, taught, and gave your best years to, and felt like a guest in their world? Their words, once warm, now cold. Their eyes, distant. You wonder, when did I stop being someone they looked up to? It's a quiet kind of pain. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep. The Stoics knew this well. Respect is not owed by default. It's earned through character, not commands. Reacting with frustration or begging for attention only reveals our own imbalance. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't waste time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The same truth applies to us, as parents, as people. This video isn't about controlling your children or demanding their reverence. It's about 6 timeless shifts, rooted in both ancient wisdom and real-world practice, that can help you reconnect with their respect, quietly and powerfully. Some ideas may challenge you, but if you stay with me, you may just rediscover not only how to regain their respect, but how to live in a way that commands it, effortlessly. Let's begin. 1. Stop chasing their approval. There is a strange paradox in human nature. The more you chase approval, the more it slips through your fingers, especially when it comes to those closest to you, your children. As parents grow older, many fall into a subtle but dangerous trap. In an effort to stay close to their adult children, they begin to overextend. They say yes when they long to say no. They suppress their own opinions to keep the peace. They bend their lives around their children's needs, believing that love means self-sacrifice, and that sacrifice will one day earn them appreciation and respect. But the Stoics would urge us to pause and reflect, because here is a truth both uncomfortable and liberating. Respect is not earned through self-sacrifice. It is earned through self-respect. When you constantly yield, constantly adjust, constantly accommodate, what you are silently teaching is that your needs, your voice, your boundaries come second. And once your children absorb that message, they begin to take you for granted, not out of cruelty, but because you've taught them to. Consider the story of Raymond, a once confident man who had spent most of his life as a respected business owner. Known for his principles and presence, people used to listen when he spoke. But as his children grew older and more distant, he felt his influence fading. Desperate to keep the connection alive, he began reshaping his entire life around theirs. He rearranged appointments to suit their schedules, avoided disagreement at all costs, and tolerated dismissive remarks in silence. "I just want them to be happy," he often said, believing that his silence and compliance would somehow preserve the bond. But instead of gratitude, he received indifference. His children no longer saw him as a steady presence in their lives. They saw him as someone who would always adjust, always agree, always stay quiet. He had lost their attention, and with it, their respect. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, warned against this trap. "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid," he wrote. Meaning, do not live your life based on the approval of others, even if they are your children. Hold your values, even when they disappoint someone else, especially when they do. Many parents resist this advice. They fear that prioritizing themselves is selfish, that setting boundaries or saying no will damage the relationship. But Marcus Aurelius challenged that very fear when he observed, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. So what should you do instead? Start by recognizing your own worth, independent of anyone else's acknowledgement. Stop over-explaining. Say no when it's needed, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Express your thoughts not to control, but to be honest. And most importantly, set boundaries and honor them, even if your children resist. At first, they may not like it. They may push back, act distant, or accuse you of changing. But in time, they will begin to see you differently. They will see someone who holds their ground, someone who doesn't bend to gain favor, someone who knows who they are. And that kind of person? That kind of person commands respect without ever needing to ask for it. The Stoics believed that dignity begins with how we carry ourselves, with quiet strength, clear standards, and a refusal to abandon our inner compass, no matter who stands before us. Respect, in this sense, is not begged for. It is earned through presence, consistency, and unwavering character. When you stop chasing your children's approval, you give them something far more powerful than comfort. You give them a model, a living example of what it means to be whole, to be grounded, and to lead with inner peace. And when you respect yourself like that, others, especially your children, will eventually have no choice but to follow. 2. Don't argue, lead by example. When your children cut you off mid-sentence, roll their eyes, or brush aside your opinions, it hurts. And the instinctive response? To argue, to remind them of all you've done, to raise your voice, demand respect, and reclaim control. But here's a truth that can save you years of heartache. You cannot argue someone into respecting you. Respect doesn't come from raised voices or long explanations. It comes from how you live, not what you say. The Stoics understood this with striking clarity. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When others act without grace, your strength lies in remaining composed." Think of Thomas, a former naval officer who led with calm authority during crisis after crisis. But at home, with his adult children, that same respect eluded him. They interrupted him mid-sentence, disregarded his advice, and treated his input like background noise. At first, he fought back, reminding them of his sacrifices, defending his role, even demanding recognition. But the more he insisted, the less they listened. He was trying to win their respect through volume, through debate, and it backfired. Until one day, Thomas shifted. He stopped trying to convince and began to embody. He listened with full attention, not to argue, but to understand. He stopped inserting himself where he wasn't invited. He spoke less, but when he did, his words carried weight. His posture, tone, and energy projected quiet strength. Not submission, not aggression, but dignity. And slowly, his children began to respond differently. They leaned in. They began to ask for his perspective. Not because he forced them to, but because they sensed that he had nothing to prove and everything to offer. Seneca once wrote, "A man is as great as the things he lets go of." When you let go of the need to win arguments, to always be heard, to be right, you gain something far more powerful: presence. You become someone who commands respect, not by demanding it, but by living it. So if your children don't respect you, don't lower yourself to their level. Don't meet sarcasm with sarcasm or disrespect with shouting. Show them what true respect looks like, in how you carry yourself, how you listen, how you hold your ground with calm certainty. Lead not with force, but with example. Speak only when your words are rooted in peace, not pride. Let your actions speak louder than your frustration, and when they do, those around you, especially your children, will begin to notice, not instantly, but inevitably, because true respect isn't argued for, it's lived. 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. One of life's most humbling lessons is this: you cannot build your sense of worth on the emotions of others, even your children. Yes, you love them deeply. Naturally, you want to feel loved and respected in return. But the moment they sense that your happiness depends on their attention, something quietly shifts. The relationship loses its balance. Here's a difficult truth that the Stoics knew well. Those who are emotionally dependent lose the very respect they crave. When you rely on your children to make you feel valued, to call, to visit, to affirm your importance, it places an invisible weight on them. Instead of feeling connected, they start feeling obligated. And obligation breeds distance. They begin pulling away, not because they don't love you, but because they feel smothered. Take Helen, a devoted mother who had poured her soul into raising her 2 sons. As they moved into adulthood, she found herself waiting by the phone, by the window, by the calendar. When the calls didn't come, she made them herself. When visits slowed, she reminded them how much she missed them, how lonely the house felt. But instead of bringing them closer, her efforts had the opposite effect. Her sons began to see her not as a strong presence in their lives, but as a source of guilt, a reminder of what they weren't giving. Until one day, Helen chose a different path. She stopped waiting. She stopped calling first. Instead, she turned inward. She revived her love for painting. She began volunteering at a local shelter. She traveled to small towns she had always dreamed of exploring. She joined a dance class, laughed with new friends, and filled her days with meaning that had nothing to do with her children. And something shifted. Her sons began reaching out, this time not out of duty, but curiosity. They wanted to hear about her adventures. They respected the life she was building. The mother they once took for granted had become someone they admired. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. You cannot control how often your children call or how much affection they show, but you can control whether your joy is anchored in them or in yourself." The paradox is powerful. The less you depend on your children to feel whole, the more they are drawn to you, not out of pity, but respect. Seneca reminds us, "He who depends on himself will attain the greatest happiness." And when you live by this, you don't just regain your children's respect, you regain your own inner strength. Because your life is not on pause, waiting for someone else to press play. It's yours. And when you choose to live it fully, the world, including your children, takes notice. 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. One of the most common reasons parents lose their children's respect is not because they were too strict, but because they were too lenient in the moments that mattered most. When you tolerate being interrupted, dismissed, or treated as if your time and voice don't matter, you unknowingly teach others, especially your children, that it's acceptable to treat you that way. Not out of cruelty, but because, as the Stoics understood, people respond not to your intentions, but to your standards. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting off your children or creating unnecessary conflict. It means drawing a clear line, calmly, firmly, about what is acceptable and what is not. And more importantly, it means honoring that line. Because if you don't enforce your boundaries, they're not boundaries. They're suggestions, and suggestions are easily ignored. Take Robert, a retired architect known for his precision and strength in his career. But at home, with his adult children, he often found himself minimized. They'd talk over him during family dinners, mock his advice, and roll their eyes when he spoke. At first, he let it slide, telling himself they were just busy or stressed. He stayed silent, hoping his patience would earn their understanding. But silence only reinforced the behavior. By saying nothing, he was saying it was okay. One afternoon, something shifted. When his daughter interrupted him mid-sentence, Robert paused and said, "I'll finish when I know I'm being heard." When his son dismissed his opinion with sarcasm, he responded, "We don't have to agree, but respect is not optional." And when the behavior continued, he set a firm condition. "If I'm not treated with the same basic courtesy I give you, I won't continue this conversation or this visit." It wasn't anger. It wasn't punishment. It was clarity. At first, his children pushed back. They assumed he would fold, as he had before, but he didn't. He stood firm, not with rage, but with quiet resolve. And slowly, they began to respond. Not just with better behavior, but with a deeper level of respect. Because they were finally seeing what he saw all along. His self-worth was non-negotiable. Seneca once wrote, "Treat your inferiors as you would be treated by your superiors." The same wisdom applies in reverse. If you want your children to treat you with dignity, you must model what it means to honor yourself first. Ask yourself, am I allowing the very behavior I resent? If the answer is yes, then know this: you have the power to change it. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is not in shouting, not in pleading, but in standing tall and saying, "This is where I draw the line, and I will not be moved." 5. Stop giving without appreciation. Few things erode respect faster than giving endlessly to those who no longer value your generosity. And as parents, we often do this without realizing it. We give our time, our energy, our resources, over and over, believing that love means sacrifice, and that sacrifice will one day be rewarded with gratitude. But here's the hard truth. When you give without boundaries, you don't teach appreciation, you teach entitlement. The more you give without recognition, the more your kindness becomes invisible, your time becomes expected, your support becomes assumed, and the moment you stop, they don't ask, "Are you okay?" They ask, "Why aren't you helping?" Consider Martin, a father who had always been there for his children. If they needed help, he was there. No questions asked. He paid off debts, helped with moves, gave advice, fixed broken things around their homes, all while asking for nothing in return. He believed that being a good father meant being endlessly available. But something strange happened. The more he gave, the less they noticed. His son once told him, "I figured you'd help, because you always do." No thank you, no pause, just expectation. Then, when Martin faced a medical issue and needed assistance himself, no one showed up. His children were busy, and for the first time, he realized what Stoic wisdom had warned for centuries. What is given freely without limit is rarely valued. That was his turning point. Martin stopped offering help automatically. He waited to be asked, and even then he asked himself, is this something they can do on their own? Is this coming from need or habit? When his son asked for money, Martin replied gently, "I believe in your ability to handle this yourself." When his daughter expected him to change his schedule for her, he said, "I have my own plans today. I hope you understand." He wasn't angry. He wasn't cold. He was simply self-respecting. And slowly, the dynamic began to change. His children started saying thank you. They began calling, not just when they needed something, but to ask how he was. Because now they saw his time, his help, his presence, not as an obligation, but as a gift. Seneca once said, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." True generosity is not about constant self-denial. It's about giving with wisdom and purpose. If your children don't respect your efforts, it may be time to pause and reflect. Am I giving because I want to, or because I feel I have to? As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. In this context, that means knowing when to give and when to let others stand on their own, because nothing is valued when it's given without limit, and no one is respected when they never say no. 6. Build a life outside of them. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is also one of the most overlooked. Build a life that doesn't revolve around them. As parents, we're conditioned by love, by instinct, by society, to place our children at the center of our universe. We sacrifice without question, put their needs ahead of ours, and often shape our identity entirely around them. While they're young, that devotion is natural, even necessary. But over time, the dynamic changes, and if we don't change with it, we risk becoming invisible in their eyes. Here's a hard truth. People, yes, even your own children, respect those who have a life of their own, a sense of purpose, a rhythm of joy, a spark that comes from within, not from being needed. When your children sense that your happiness, your meaning, your entire world depends on them, it creates a quiet discomfort. What was once a bond of love starts to feel like a weight. They may not say it aloud, but they begin to pull away. Not because they don't care, but because they sense that their presence has become your only source of joy. This doesn't inspire closeness. It fosters distance. Take the story of Janet, a retired nurse in her early 70s. After her husband passed away, she poured all of her energy into her children's lives. She called them every day, asked about every detail, gave advice they didn't ask for, and waited, always waited, for them to call back, visit, or need her. What began as love soon became dependence, and slowly her children began to drift. Phone calls became shorter, visits became rare. Janet felt forgotten, unimportant, even abandoned, until one day she looked in the mirror and asked herself a question the Stoics might have posed. What part of my life belongs to me? That moment changed everything. She stopped waiting. She joined a photography club she had once dreamed of in her youth. She started walking trails with a local hiking group. She began volunteering at a nearby animal shelter and even started writing poetry, something she hadn't done since college. She built friendships. She laughed. She rediscovered her inner world. And something remarkable happened. Her children began to call, not out of guilt, but out of curiosity. They asked about her trips, her photos, her new friends. They wanted to know more, not because she needed them, but because she'd become someone worth noticing again. Not just their mother, but a woman with stories, adventures, and a vibrant life of her own. As Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Too many parents unknowingly stop living. They stop growing, exploring, or investing in themselves. They wait for phone calls, visits, validation. But waiting is not living, and it is certainly not the path to respect. The Stoics teach us that fulfillment must be rooted in things we control, and we never control how others treat us, only how we live our own lives. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, do they see someone who is engaged with life, or someone who's merely waiting for attention? Because here's what's true in every generation. People are drawn to those who radiate independence, curiosity, and quiet strength, not to those who orbit around them. When you have your own interests, your own routines, your own joy, you stop becoming a weight in their lives and start becoming a light. Not one that demands attention, but one that earns it. As Seneca wisely noted, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And what greater waste than living only for someone else's presence or approval? So build a life that is yours, not in opposition to your children, but in harmony with your own soul. Read books that move you. Travel to places that stir your curiosity. Join clubs, take classes, try something new. Reclaim the parts of yourself that once made you feel alive. Be someone they admire, not because you beg for their time, but because you inspire them by how you use yours. The truth is, when you stop needing their validation, you begin to receive their respect. When you show them that your life is full, with or without them, they begin to lean in, to look again, to recognize the richness of who you are beyond the role of parent. Because respect isn't born from sacrifice alone, it's born from self-possession. And the moment you begin truly living, your children will not only see you differently, they'll start respecting you not out of guilt or duty, but out of genuine admiration. Respect isn't something you demand, it's something you embody. And the moment you stop chasing approval and instead begin living with clarity, strength, and quiet confidence, everything begins to shift. You don't have to shout to be heard or give endlessly to be valued. When you carry yourself with dignity, set boundaries that reflect your worth, and build a life that doesn't depend on anyone else for meaning, respect finds its way back to you. The Stoics taught us, true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. So take a breath, stand a little taller, and remember, your life isn't on hold for anyone. Your peace, your purpose, your presence, they all matter. If this message spoke to something in you, I invite you to pause and reflect. And if you feel called, comment below with "Choose respect." Let it be your quiet declaration, your turning point. If you'd like to continue walking this path of wisdom, feel free to like the video, subscribe, and stay close. Not out of pressure, but because you're ready to live with intention and courage. You've made it this far. That means something. So stay grounded, stay wise, and above all, stay true to who you are, because the most powerful kind of respect starts from within. We've only just begun. See you in the next one.